All right, folks, Turbine Guy coming back at you. And believe it or not, today I have the former owner of the Seanote from Texas who's going to buy and bring it down there, Greg Dugal. Now, how are you doing today, Greg?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. So it was fun to see you comment on the one video and kind of back up some of the facts that we'd been talking about. So I guess that's what I want to get out of you. What is right and what is wrong about what we've been talking about? And let's start with what is right.
Well, first of all, that is a beautiful vessel. There's a lot of history with that. Chris Craft obviously has a lot of followers to begin with because of their history, and it's a 58 foot Romer, actually called Romer Riviera hardtop, which is there's not a lot of them made, and that was hole number 11. So a lot of history there. It's been on that lake for many many years. Uh, so you were right about the weight. I've heard some different things about weights, but it is about a 90,000 pound vessel. So a lot of weight. It's got two 1271 Detroits in it, and I had heard somebody say that maybe it had gas engines and it was retrofitted. So it was built with the Detroits in it, with the big 1271s. So anyway, just an absolute beautiful vessel. So I just have to compliment that a little bit at first. That vessel Seanote was actually in a movie. I saw somebody comment or ask the question, and that's a fact that actual vessel was in the movie Factotum, um, with Matt Dillon starring in it. So it's a terrible movie. It's actually a terrible movie, but, but it's pretty cool to go watch it and see that vessel in the movie. So lots of history, and just the owner of it, John, who I purchased it from, is just a great guy, and he had it for many years. I'm sure it was hard for him to see it go, and he's probably completely stressing out watching it go through what it's going through now, because it had a really happy life, and I think that's what we all want to see, is somehow it winding up continuing to have a happy life moving forward. So that's a little commentary moving into it.
Okay, and now you gave me a fact, and now I've got to go find and watch a bad movie just so I can find this boat. You know, that's a cool fact to know. So, yes, that boat does have a lot of history. It is a part of Lake Minnetonka. That's why it's so fascinating to everybody around here, and everybody's watching it. Now, the big thing I want to ask you is, what are the things we've been getting wrong?
You know, so I first of all, I really wanted the vessel here, just because of the history. I love Chris Craft. I love its heritage. I love the lines, just everything about the boat. So when we found it for sale, we went and did an inspection of the boat. Everything went fantastic. Obviously, the big challenge, I'm here in Houston, Texas, on Clear Lake. And so the challenge was going to be getting it here. And I think a lot of people wondered, so, how were we going to do that? And that was a big challenge. So the biggest thing that came to it was getting it to the Mississippi, and then down the Mississippi all the way into the Gulf of Mexico to get it here, the Galveston Bay area. So we went through a lot of time as a part of our due diligence to make sure that we had that worked out. We everything from meeting with the owners, the inspection, Gabriel at the marina where it's at, just a fantastic guy. A mechanic that helped us along the way with taking the top off. We knew that was going to have to happen. Height was going to be the biggest issue. It's not the weight. So everybody wonders, is it the weight or the size? The weight of that boat wasn't the problem in moving it down. It's the height of the boat. So we paid to have the top off of it. And I got to say, everybody did exactly what they said in going through this. So as part of our due diligence was to make sure that came off. Cash took care of it. Gabriel was very helpful and letting us take care of everything there. A big part of it is Gabriel did not want to keep the boat there anymore. It's such a big vessel. It's a liability moving it every time and dealing with everything else. So getting it down the Mississippi wasn't going to be a problem. We met with captains and actually had a captain hired, worked out everything with him to be able to bring it, and a mate to bring it down the Mississippi. So the only thing we had left was making sure we could get it to the Mississippi. So met with a couple of different transportation guys. There was one guy that was local, or pretty local, that owned Edgewater Boat and Transport and our boat transport and storage. And so I don't know if it's sold since then or not, but Bart and Melanie Alvarado, I guess, were the owners. I don't know if they still are. But they said they absolutely would not be a problem. They moved vessels like that, would not be an issue. So the only issue was we bought it in December.
A year ago.
Actually, 2 weeks prior to a year ago.
Okay.
So early part of December a year ago. And at that point, they said they could absolutely do it and get it to the Mississippi, but they could not get permits for it at this time of the year. So I know nothing about moving vessels or moving heavy loads up there. I do here. I work for a big construction company, and we move heavy equipment all the time, but I know it's a lot different there because of the road freezing situation. I'm not sure how that works, but anyway, I was told they could not do it at that time of year. It'd be around March or April, and that was a variable depending on weather conditions. But if I give them a deposit, they would go ahead. We agreed on a price. I don't mind saying it was going to be $50,000 to move it, and I took that in consideration and still was willing to pay the $50,000. So first they wanted half down. I was a little hesitant to do that. We agreed on $5,000 down, paid them $5,000. And they said in the meantime, getting ready for the move in March, April, where they could get permits, they would start getting everything ready, boat ramps, the route, all that kind of stuff. So we're looking good. The only challenge came into now, making sure that we could get it out of the water okay, where we could lift it up. So I think I started looking around. Again, we deal with cranes all the time here in Houston. And a lot of people are scared thinking, okay, cranes are very expensive. Actually, cranes are a great alternative to doing lifts, and they're not as expensive as people think. So we did some checking around and actually got with, I believe it's Rocket Crane. I was looking at my paperwork as I'm talking to you. Yes, Rocket Crane, a young man named Clayton, super helpful. He said, you get it where we put our crane, and we will lift it out and set it on a trailer for you. So that was absolutely the best way to do it. And actually, again, I saw in a couple of comments during your videos that how come somebody didn't use a crane, and that would have, in my opinion, absolutely been the best way to do it. $2,500, a crane, and you'd have it out in 2 hours sitting on a trailer. So cranes are very reasonable. They use big spreader bars and pick it up and set it where you want it. So anyway, so we had the crane worked out. We paid a deposit. Gabriel, fantastic at the marina. Can't say enough about him. Mechanic, fantastic. Andy, with helping with all that. We think we're set. So as we start, and during that time, during those first quarter of this year, we make several visits up to look at the boat, get things ready, just tinkering with it, having fun, even though it's, sitting on the hard, we're still having fun getting it all ready and doing everything. And, then that's where things went bad. Around March, so I'm watching all the permit activities on y'all's roads too. And I can't remember if it was March or April. It was probably April. Sometime in there, finally they released the road conditions to where we could transport it, and started checking into where that was going to come out with the transportation company that we had paid $5,000 down on.
Hey, Greg, I just want to tell everybody quick so they understand, because not a lot of people understand what it's like to live in the tundra. But what happens up here is in the winter, the roads freeze from the top down, and it's not a big deal. In the spring, the roads thaw from the top down, so it's frozen underneath. So they put what they call road restrictions on around here, usually in March, and they can run through April and sometimes into May, depending how long the thaw takes. but they want that road, all the roads, to thaw all the way through before you start transporting heavy loads on them again. And that's why around here we have like a lot of little garbage trucks instead of big garbage trucks that run around because of these springtime road restrictions. And that's what you're talking about. So go ahead.
So that's right. So thank you for clarifying that. And a lot of that was new to me because it's obviously totally different. We don't get a lot of freezes up here in Houston. So anyway, but things started going awry. When we started asking, okay, exactly what the route was going to be, the transportation company, Edgewater Boat Transport Storage, didn't have exactly what the route was going to be. When we asked which boat ramp they wanted to go to take it out of the water, they didn't know exactly what boat ramp was. So we're pushing the issue because we have two things going on. You know, because of the things you just said, there are only certain windows that you can carry large loads like that. You know, move them around, and also this big boat is taking up a ton of room over at the marina. What is it called? I'm trying to think.
Tonka Bay
Marina, where it was at.
Tonka Bay.
It's taking up a lot of room there.
Yep.
So we want to get it out of Gabriel's way, rightfully so. That was our agreement with him, and get it out of there. We know we only got certain windows to even transport this thing. The captain and mate, they're already hired, and they're making sure they have the time slotted. So literally every single person was ready. The roads, the state was ready to release it, but the transportation company wasn't. And then they started being busy doing other things, even though we gave money to them. So the bottom line is we did this for several months. We got into June, and they still didn't even know where the boat needed to come out of the water at. At this point, it was just too stressful for me to continue dealing with it. And it was a very tough decision, but we just had to pull the plug. We canceled the contract with them. First, they said, no problem, we'll refund you the money. Then, of course, after we canceled the contract, then they said, okay, well, we're not going to refund you the money. And then they just went to where we couldn't even contact them anymore. So out of everybody we dealt with there, I got to tell you, we love the people. I mean, everybody was fantastic. I really, as a Houston boy, learned a lot about y'all's area, and there's a lot of great people there. And unfortunately, it took one person or one company to destroy all that. And so we had to bail because what you saw happening, what you videoed with that boat coming across the lake, was not something we wanted to do.
Yeah, from Texas.
and this is nothing negative against, Paul or whoever the owners are now that were moving it. I don't understand what exactly the situation was, but whatever it may be, I'm sure that was not something they really want to do either. And I did not want to get stuck in that because we had the marina that we had made the agreement with Gabriel, to where we told them it will not be there, when it comes time to winter. And I didn't want to go back on my word of something. So we knew it had to leave that marina, and kind of exactly what you saw happening is what I did not want to get caught up in, especially with me being in Houston and everything else being up there. It's like, okay, it can't be at that marina. I have a transportation company that has completely been fraudulent, and everything they've told me was going to happen and not happening. I'm going to get stuck with that boat sitting right there at Gabriel's when I told him it wouldn't be, and I don't know what to do with the boat. So at that point, I had to sell the boat, and that's what happened. So so that's the story. I'll be glad to I probably left some stuff out you can ask me, but that's the story. And that's a beautiful boat. I just hope it gets to wherever it's going to land and has a happy life still to come, because it still has a lot of history to grow in that boat. Okay,
that's a fantastic story. It really fills in a lot of blanks, and I can guarantee there's going to be a ton of people appreciate hearing this. I guess my question to you about the permitting, were there any special permits you had to get it from here to the Mississippi, or were they just standard type permits?
Oh, no, it's a huge job. And like I said, when I first was told, $50,000 to move it 20 miles or whatever that is to get it to the Mississippi, I was like, are you kidding me? That just sounded crazy high. But then after talking to several different people, I found out it's just the way it is. I don't know the name of all the permits there because they are different than here in Houston. I mean, I have permits every day for my trucks moving by excavators. We have, excavators that are very large and other equipment. So it's a pretty easy process, and it's because of the height that, I mean, you have to have a bucket truck running to move power lines. So there's a lot of stuff. It has to be happening in the middle of the night because obviously you can't start shutting down all these roads, in the middle of the day. So you have the factor of timing, making sure you're on the roads at the right time for them to give the permits. Then you have the factor of when can you have bucket trucks, raise power lines, move power lines, reconnect power lines, going around red lights. So you have to go, or lights, you have to go on the wrong way on certain roads to get around some of those issues. And so it's a huge process. And so I'm not making light of that at all. It is a huge process to do that. Obviously, it's a $50,000 job, and I don't think $50,000 is out of line to move it 20 miles to get it to the Mississippi. It's just I needed it to happen, and then it wasn't happening, and that started very much concerned me because I didn't want to happen with what wound up happening with that boat.
Sure. And now I guess along with you're talking about moving the power lines and having the electric company go with you, so you can do that. What about street lights that you can't move or you can't go around? Because what I see where he's going to turn around and go back, he's going to have a spot where I don't think he can get back from the wrong side of the road to the right side of the road, so he can squiggle through the next street light. So were they actually going to have to disassemble some street lights?
Well, I don't know that. I know that going, on a what as a crow flies 5 miles might turn into 20 miles because you have to go a completely different route to get around certain things. So that's something probably for each streetlight, depending on how it's built. I can't answer, but I can tell you that I believe the height with the top removed, because that boat, as beautiful as it sits on all these videos, it's much prettier when it has the top on it, and it has the top off right now. But with the top off, it still has about a 19-foot height on it, sitting on the trailer. 19 foot's a challenge, and so yes, you have to get around these lights somehow. Some you can disassemble, some you can remove, but they got to go back up, and you have to escort. So what they do to get these permits is, they first have to apply for a route and show. To get the permit, they have to show the exact route they're going to go to get approval for the permits and how they're going to get around these, how they're going to not tear up any lights or major shutdowns by the time morning gets there, have everything back operational for the normal flow of traffic.
So I got to think that this was going to be more than a one-night operation.
I don't know where they're going with the boat, so I have no idea.
Yeah, for now. For now, I gotta think they're gonna be able to get in one night because they're just going a few blocks up, and I run the route in my truck in one of the videos and point out the power lines and stuff. But I gotta think going from Minnetonka to the Mississippi would have been 2 to 3 days, given all the complications you're throwing in.
Yes, you're exactly right. It was a 2 to 3 day at best trip, and that's with at least one bucket truck, if not more, raising power lines. A vehicle to lead, to help with all this, and plus a police escort. So there's no doubt about it. It's a major operation to move that boat. So if they have a place they can store it for the winter, it's only a few blocks away or whatever, then that's fantastic, and that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, the best thing for now, because that thing's stuck on the landing. I heard they might be working on it today and moving it a little tomorrow, so we'll be out there to see and do a little streaming later. But I got to tell you, it's been a great conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to get people up to date on, I guess, your own journey over the course of a year, half a year, buying this thing and trying to get it done. And now this boat's on to another journey staying here.
Yeah, well, that's where its home is, so it makes sense for it to stay there. And I have to tell you one more time that, because I don't want to be negative, and it's a shame that I have that one company or person ruined all this, because there was so many good people along the way helping through this process. I mean, just great people. I mean, my gosh, when I'd go down there and me and the captain and mate would go have a drink and at a bar, local bar. Just the people there were fantastic. It's amazing. We'd sit and have a drink, and the captain would tell, which is his name's Ernie Olson. He would just tell somebody, yeah, Greg just bought Keynote, and it is amazing how many people on the water there knew Keynote and would tell me stories and the history, and so just great group of people. Really ashamed that I didn't get to get that boat. If you look on my YouTube video, if it's okay if I say this, we bought another boat right after that. We got a 60-foot Hartman Palmer, and it's a beautiful boat, and it is called Living La Vida. So if anybody wants to see it, check it out on YouTube, Living La Vida, and it's a beautiful boat. And anyway, so we wish we had got the Chris Craft, but had to go ahead and move on. I do pray for everybody that boat gets to a safe home and has many more years on y'all's lake. And thank y'all for everything. And I'll be watching your channel. It's been really fun to watch the progress of the boat. And I just
well, it's a slow motion train wreck. You hope doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I'll tell you again, if they didn't think of it, or maybe there was some reason they couldn't, but for the new owners, when they go to move that thing again, man, it'd be a whole lot safer from the call Rocket Crane. And obviously, they're not sponsoring me to say that, but they were just great people, and they kept moving their date because the transportation company kept playing these games, and were super, super helpful. And I think they even had a beam brought in to be able to raise the boat because of the width, to make sure it didn't hurt anything. But Clayton over Rocket Crane, for a very reasonable price, could lift that boat out of the water and set it on a trailer without all the things that went on. So they might consider that, at least looking at that option in the future.
Simplify the process. You're saying, yeah, I guess a lot easier to put the boat on the trailer in the lot as opposed to in the water for something that big.
Yep, you're exactly right. A whole lot safer too. My God, thank God nobody got hurt when that strap broke. But
yeah, that was quite the thing, and it was interesting because after that, everybody was standing another 10 feet farther back.
Yeah. Again, we still pretty heavy stuff here at my company at JTV Services, and if you've ever seen, unfortunately, a strap break like that and hit somebody, it cuts them in half. I mean,
oh yeah,
there's no mercy.
No, and I've got a good friend out here who's passed recently, but his brother, that they ran a well company, and one of the turnbuckles let loose and hit him in the head, and that was the end.
It's
so
terrible.
Yeah,
terrible.
But it's sad.
Hey, I really appreciate you filming everything, and from Houston being able to watch it, and pray for safety for everybody involved, and for Keynote as well. And I'll be keeping up with everything.
All right, great. Thanks, Greg. I really appreciate the interview. Hey, everybody, Turbine Guy signing off.
You guys take care.